Okay, there we go. So this, we're going to talk about a successful launch. And you know, like I said, that business overview 273 times in 4 weeks has been shared. So it is a tool that we are using for when people want to see the overview. So important because, there are a lot of things I say when I send somebody to it and some different things, but keep in mind, tell the person what you want them to see out of it. 15 minutes is products, 15 minutes is, opportunity, how we earn money. It's really important if you're sending somebody that could care less product. And sometimes guys just want to make money. I'll just put it straight out there. They just want to make money and they could care less what we're selling. They're not really interested in the product as long as they can see the money. You need to let them know that they see the money on the second half. And so I'm going to go through some of that, some of the verbiage that I do use there as well. So, but I want you to go back. I mean, sometimes people say, I have nobody to talk to. Well, most of us are definitely over 40, maybe over 50, maybe over 60, maybe more. We've got lots of people that we've met in the last few decades that we can talk to. So I'm going to go through some of that as well, but it's the best memory jogger you have. I love scrolling through my phone because every once in a while I find another name that just, I'm like, oh, I haven't talked to them in so long. And so we're going to talk about that. But this time frame between now and tomorrow are really the best time to be inviting people because, again, people get busy, they have attention deficit, and by Sunday night they know if they're going to be available Monday night or not. So it's a good time for be inviting people because one, they're not going to forget, but two, they know already if they're going to be busy tomorrow night or not. So don't think that it's too close. In fact, when you're inviting to a launch, I would never invite, like I kind of put it out there, but I also put some other tools in there. I would never start inviting somebody a week out. It's too long. You could possibly close that person in that week. So I would give another tool and let them know that there's always something else they can see. But the closer we get to it, actually turns out to be the better time to be, inviting them to that. This is powerful. And if you can figure this part out, then the rest becomes really, really easy. When I look at this opportunity and when I talk to people, I'm always trying to figure out, how can we help them best? What is that need or want? And sometimes we need to ask a lot of questions. Sometimes we know them. So these are just some examples. I'm thinking one day, maybe we'll talk just from cold, like we did it at the bar the other night or something, or just, when somebody does answer something on Facebook. But, these are probably people that you already know. One of the things you may think is, I love hanging with them, so you want to be in business with them. It would be a lot of fun to be in business and have a lot of fun. Or maybe, it's another couple that you want to hang with or whatever. So think about, how you know them, how you want them in your business, what they represent to you. Maybe they're a person that's been successful. They touch turns to gold, and who wouldn't want to be in business with them? And so, you just let them know, I appreciate that you have always been so successful, and I really, want you to be in business with me. Maybe they have a niche that's perfect for our business. It could be, again, we can get back to the doctors, the nail salons, the massage therapists, any business. And this is how I look at it. Any business where people have a lot of contact with a lot of people is perfect. Anytime people are around a lot of people, that's really what we want to look for in our business because it gives them much more opportunity to talk to a lot of different people. Maybe there's a need. Maybe there's a need for income. Maybe there's a need for products. That's pretty straightforward. That's pretty easy. One of the things that I do every once in a while, and I think I've mentioned it, is, I'll be scrolling to get somebody else's phone number and see somebody that I haven't talked to. Again, this gets back to my phone. It could be my email. It could be, if LinkedIn popped up, but, hey, and I just tell them truthfully exactly how I thought of them. We haven't talked in forever. I was just looking for somebody else's name and yours popped up next. So, it kind of jogged my memory and realized we haven't talked in forever. So all these ways are ways to get into conversation with people just to really make you feel comfortable about the angle and the why that you're actually picking up the phone and talking to them. But we're not going to pick up the phone first. The first thing we want to do, and this has become, I don't even think 6 months, a year ago, I would have said this, but we all kind of text and say, hey, do you have time to talk? Is this I don't know why we do this, but we need to do what everybody's doing these days. So, it's real easy and non-threatening to send a text first and just say, hey, do you have 5 minutes for me? The person will say yes. The thing that this does even more importantly, because if they said no, is we don't necessarily even want to get them on the phone when maybe they just had a fight with their spouse, or their kids are acting up, or they're in the middle of a business meeting, or they're running through the grocery store, or whatever is going on. So, I always do this now. Hey, do you have 5 minutes? And it's great because then they'll say, not now, how about in an hour? So they'll let you know, when they will have time to be able to talk. Okay. So now you're wondering, what do I say when I pick up the phone? How do I get this conversation started? And I just say, hey, I like to call because I have something I'd like to share. And they're wondering what do they want? I'm sure a million things are going through their mind, particularly if they've been in the industry. What does she want? Does she want to borrow money, or what does she want? What is she looking for? Type thing. People's minds run amok there. So, but it still is polite. I mentioned that, hey, I've got something I want to share with you, but how's your family? How's your family doing? Now, this doesn't go on for 5 minutes. You don't keep asking about the family and chit-chatting and do it. Just a really quick, like, how's everything? Because if they tell me things are really, really bad, like somebody's sick, somebody's in the hospital, obviously at that point I might say, I do have something I'd like to share with you, but man, you got your hands full. How about we put this on the back burner and I get back to you when everybody's feeling much better? So, that's another reason that you want to be asking what's going on with the family. It also shows that you care, and it could be however you know them. It could be, if it's a tennis and maybe I don't know the person's family, I only know the person maybe on court, I may say something about tennis, or pickleball, or if I only know them at work, don't really know their family, might talk something about the job. But if I know the family, obviously, but keep it short. The whole thing with these calls are, you want to be, and we're also busy, you want to be able to make a lot of calls, but you want to be able to make them quickly. You don't want to have to spend a lot of time. I used to wonder, particularly when we were running a lot of the doctor ads, people would spend so much time on the front end with somebody. And really, our job is just to get the invite across. It's not to sell the opportunity at this point. It's not to discuss the latest science on a product or whatever. We just want to get them to take a look at what we're doing. No more, no less. So I always say, hey, I promise only 5 minutes. I have another call, but the reason I called you, so you can look, I don't know if I can move this over, but whatever it is that is going on for you, I found a way to make lots of money. I found a way that we can go on vacation, easily with earning extra money. I just started a product. I'm losing weight. I know you've struggled. Are you still looking to lose weight? Because I'm losing weight. Are you curious to learn more? These are just some ideas on how you could get a person to say, me. That's all we're doing. If you need to write this out before you get on the phone, write it out. These things will help you. You've heard me before, put stickies on your computer until you get your verbiage done. But you want to end this question with a question mark. You want them to say more, yes, I'm interested, whatever it is. So, I wanted to see who you knew. My company is now opening. We're in 27 countries. We just opened Iceland. Do you know anyone looking to change careers, grow their retirement account, earn extra money? these are great things. People will give you referrals, and particularly that last one, a business person will say, hey, what about me? So if you're looking to kind of third party things so that you don't say something directly to a person, that is a great option as well. So, those are just some ideas on some different things that you can say. But again, keep that conversation to 5 minutes. It needn't be 15, 20 minutes or whatever. Most times, if that conversation goes on too long, you've said too much. And when you say too much, you're giving them all the information they need so they don't need to jump on the Zoom. You've allowed them to make a decision without having all the information. You've really done them a disjustice, because they haven't gotten all the information, but based on one little thing you said, they said, nah, this is not for me. This is not what I want to do. So we really need to be careful with, just inviting to the Zoom. So I always say great. It's probably the word I use the most. Everything is great. And I just know you're going to love it. And we're doing the Zoom, the business overview. It depends on, if we're talking product, I might not say business overview. I'd just say overview. If it's somebody that's interested in making money, I say business overview. I let them know it's only 30 minutes. There are a lot of Zooms out there that people are now doing an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. It's, whenever I say that I want to be on a Zoom, I'm like, what's the time frame? Because, if you're going to tell me you want 2 hours now, it ain't happening. I don't care what we're learning. I'm not staying on a Zoom for 2 hours. So, just 30 minutes, make sure that they know that. The couple that got me started, or the couple that's going to go over the details I've been in business with, and you all have your own story. Either I just got started, or what the strength is for many of you. I've been in business with them for 7 years. I've been in business with them for 10 years. Obviously, there's a lot of strength because, people want to know how long I know Jackie and I were on with the lady, and she was just blown away by how long we've known one another. And so I know one of the things that I was talking to Bobby about, because of some of the conversations I've had lately, is I want to get some of you with your testimonies on our website, so that people can see we've all been in business for a while. Obviously, it's not a scam, because we wouldn't be in business this long. You wouldn't have a husband and wife and then all these couples involved if we were scamming people. I mean, you can't get that many people on the same page scamming, I don't think so. But it just shows, again, community, that we're all together. But, again, you could say the guy that does the last part, if they're looking for money in particular, again, I drive this home, and I'll show you the flip side if it's product. But, the guy make sure you stay on to the end, because the guy that talks about the money does a great job, makes it really easy, and he's earned millions. You're going to want to hear from him, but no pressure. Don't worry. It's just information. And then we can talk after. And then, you good? Yeah, I'm good. It's like, you open, you good, and so all I'm looking for is a yes. I'm not looking for anything more there. Here's the one on weight loss. Yes. Okay. So I'm so excited. You want to hear more? We can get skinny together. If it's girls, we love that. We want to be skinny and rich together, or whatever it might be that we want. But we're doing a Zoom tomorrow night. This 8:30. Just 30 minutes. You're going to love it. I'm always telling people they are absolutely going to love it. They spend the first time showing us, how easy it is to lose weight. This is so very different from everything you've seen before. And again, I've abbreviated some of this, but, did you know that the clinical trial, the study showed 9 pounds in 8 weeks, but 25 pounds in 12 weeks, already setting them up to be on it for, 3 months. You'll love the product information I did when I saw it. And then, you can see how other people are getting their product for free if you want, or earn a little. You good? Again, it's really easy. You want people saying yes, yes, very easy for them to do. So this is the part too that's super, super important, and some little details that we, really need to remember. Great. Once they say yes, great. I'll send you the link in a minute. I like to make sure, and I don't take for granted, that everybody has used Zoom. Not everybody has. Every once in a while, I get somebody that maybe they know of Zoom, but they haven't actually been on Zoom, or maybe it's been a little while since they've been on Zoom. So I always ask, are you going to view it on your phone or your computer? The clearer you can get with leading people with instructions, clear instructions, the better time you will have also as well. So if you're going to be on your phone, remember, and I treat everybody like they're the smartest person in the world, but I give instructions like you're five. So, I know but if you're on your phone, remember you still have the app if you're going to jump on Zoom. You have to have the app before they'll let you on. If you're using your computer, you can just click the link. But you have to give that direction to a lot of people because a lot of people aren't business people. And even though we're on and off Zoom all the time, not everybody is. I also ask them to please be early. So important because some people think 8 o'clock, they jump on. But even I've had, there's been times I try to jump on and Zoom wants to update my account, or they want new login information, or they don't like my password. All of a sudden, something's going on. So what I'll generally do is, just be early, even just 5 minutes early can make all the difference from them hearing the beginning. Or if they're struggling, they could miss all the products and then just hear the money or whatever. So the other thing I do is I send a reminder 30 minutes before the Zoom because we're all super busy. Everybody's busy, especially if they've worked all day. They're running in the door, trying to get dinner. They got a few kids, whatever's going on. So I always tell them to, and I'll send you a reminder 30 minutes before we start. So those are some of the instructions. Okay. The real results become in the follow-up because, again, this is another tool that we're using. So I assume everybody, and I've already got my list of people, I assume everybody is on the call. I'm not looking to see iPhone 186, who is that, and iPhone this, or Bill, or whatever it may be. I assume, and you need to assume, that everybody's been on the call. They told you they'd be on the call. First off, you have to take that posture. They said they'd be on the call. So, that would be really not nice of them not to show up if they said they'd be on the call. So you need to assume. And then I just ask everyone, maybe not if it's a guy, but if it's a girl, certainly, what'd you love best about the Zoom? Maybe it's a guy. I'll say, what did you like best? What was most interesting about the Zoom for you? Trying to figure out some feedback from them on what they saw, because it always blows me away, with 273 recordings out there this month alone. I ask that same question when I send that video to people. And it's amazing how people see different things. It's crazy because it's the same Zoom, but everybody's seeing a little bit different. So I want to know what they saw. I want to know what interests them, because I know that's my starting point now, because they've been given a lot of information, but that part, whatever they're talking about, whether it be products, certain parts of, how we get paid, something spoke to them. And when we ask them what they liked best, that keeps it in a positive frame of mind. If I say, what did you think? It's hard for me to even think that way. What did you? Then people can say, oh, I didn't like that lady. She looked kind of funny, or she wasn't friendly, or, you don't know what they're going to say. So you want to keep it in a positive. What did you like best about it? Not just what did you think? So some of those buzzwords can make a difference with how you move along. And they'll either say that they love this, interests them the most, they like that study was pretty cool, and I missed it, and is there a recording? They almost always right away ask if there's a recording. So if they don't ask, you can say, I've got a recording. If I share it with you, would you watch it? Not saying, oh, I can pop over a recording for you. Again, I'm asking them to commit. If I share it with you, will you watch it? And you can see I move along and I'll say, yes, I have a recording I can send you. It's about 30 minutes. When do you think you can watch it? This does two things. One, it gives them more commitment to follow up. But two, it tells you when to follow up. So you don't feel weird about the follow-up, because I said, I will watch it tomorrow evening. And I'll say, great. So if I give you a call Tuesday evening, you will have watched it. And they say, yes. So great. I'll call you Tuesday evening to find out what you loved best. I'm setting it all up. So I know when I'm doing my follow up. They know when to expect my call. Now, will they always be there? No, they're not always going to be there, but at least you feel better instead of just saying, oh, should I follow up? Do you think they watched it? I'm not sure if they watch. There's so many unknowns when you don't kind of put this out there this way, and frame them as far as the directions that they need for this as well. Okay. The thing that we always need to keep in mind with people, because sometimes we get tied up and they're like, 250 to $1,000 is a lot. Everybody wants what we have on some level. They absolutely want what we have, but change is hard. And there's a lot more going on. And so again, this is why that follow-up becomes important. One, you're creating that relationship with them. They'll know that you're there. They don't like change. Most people do not like change. So, changing out of a job or just adding something is not. The fear of unknown, because again, many times we get in this industry and we really don't know. I mean, there's a certain amount of time, particularly the first 2-3 months, where we do a lot of three-way calls and a lot of training and people learn a lot of stuff. And the other thing is fear of failure. What if I start a business and I fail? What if my spouse makes fun of me because I didn't do it well, or my friends know that I got involved in this and it failed? So there's a lot of stuff that we have to put them at ease going on. So don't always get, when they're kind of just ditching you right away and not quite there all the time and stuff. It's just a work in progress. They're overcoming a lot of different things that, I always say, this isn't like a traditional box that we can feel, see, and touch a business. I mean, that we can feel, see, and touch. When you buy a gas station or a laundromat or an Airbnb, we can physically see and touch that. But a lot of people, just like AI, like, the cloud, people have trouble grasping exactly how we make money. And so they struggle with, well, who do I sell the products to? And how do I get paid? And, do I need to know about the products? So there's lots of things that go on there. So, continue to answer questions, continue to do the follow-up. And I have no doubt, if you want the person, I have no doubt you can get that person. I absolutely have no doubt. It's just a matter of giving them enough information and being able to drip on them until they feel comfortable with getting started. So anyway, so that's the training on getting people to the launch tomorrow night. And I hope some of those lines help you. Let me just stop this share now. We good? We back?
Yep, we're back. How about a hand for that?
Good.
Was that great training or what? That you know how valuable that information is. I mean, it's just that's 32 years experience talking there. And I tell you, we've been talking to a lot of people. The video's been watched for almost 300 times in 4 weeks. But this is that moment, in your business, in the month, where the next 24 hours you should spend inviting people to look at what you got. In sports or football, we'd call it the 2-minute drill. This is the 2-minute drill where, there's nothing you can do that's more important than getting people to look at your products and business tomorrow night. Okay, that's it. That's it. And then after that, everything April talked about in regards to follow-up is in play. One thing I want to share, and then we'll call it a night for the leaders on here. We've had the opportunity to do a lot of three-way calls. And as a leader, you should always look at it two ways. You never know what's going to come out of the mouth of the prospect. Okay. So you should be prepared for anything that might come out of their mouth, but always look at it as an opportunity to train your distributor on how to handle questions and objections. There's two things going on. And I always tell this to brand new people that get involved with me and April in the business. We're going to do a lot of three-way calls or three-way Zooms. And I need the opportunity for two things to happen. I want the opportunity to help you earn money and close business. Okay. Number one, but I really need the opportunity to train you. and we could do the two things at the same time if we do three-way calls or three-way Zooms. And I know Lynn's experienced it, Jackie's experienced it. We've had it this past week a number of times. So just keep that in mind. There is help available. I know Archie's been doing calls with April too. So there is help. You don't need to fly solo. And a lot of times, if you step back and let somebody answer the questions for you, you'd be amazed at how much easier it is. So just keep that in mind. But anyway, we're going to see you all tomorrow at 8:30. Hopefully you'll have guests 8:30 Eastern. I know you're from all over the country. But 8:30 Eastern, and hopefully you will use the next 24 hours to invite as many people as possible. April, I love the idea of scanning through your phone. You know, I was putting my leads in alphabetical order the other day, and they were just piles. I just had piles of them. And it was really cool. I was looking at every one of them because I wanted to put them in alphabetical order instead of just a big pile. And it gave me a chance to pull out a dozen people that I had forgotten about, that I had great conversations with, and they just weren't ready. When I talked to them 6 months ago or 8 months ago. So scanning through your phone, like April said, I mean, that is, you'll be amazed at how many people pop into mind that would be great to invite tomorrow night. So anyway, we appreciate your time, folks. We appreciate all you do. We hope you're having an awesome summer, but part of me wants summer to end so business gets back to normal. This vacation stuff needs to end. But anyway, have a good night. We will see you tomorrow night, and hopefully, you'll have a bunch of guests on. Okay.